Now we're going to put some buildings in there going back into space. And so just for the purposes of this demonstration, again, try to put your buildings where I'm putting my buildings. On this side of the street, we're going to have more city, tall skyraiser kind of buildings or just like a business area. And then we're going to do a residential building over here. So when you decide to do your own, you can choose between the two. What you do when you start a building is you start with how far off of the sidewalk you want it to be. And so I would go right here in line with this sidewalk tile. That's where I'm going to start my first rectangle. And you always start with the side that faces you. So I call this, you go dot, box, receding line, and end it. So I'm going to draw my rectangle. I'm going to draw it up and over the horizon line on this one. So dot, box, you start with the side facing you always. The receding lines you want to draw super light because you never know what you're going to erase. This receding line, since it's on the sidewalk tile, is already done for us, but normally we would have one there. And then we have the top receding line going back. And then you end it. I'm going to just end it right where this other sidewalk crack is. So right here on yours also, just make that how wide your building is going to be. That's going to help us when it comes to turning our roads. That's why it's nice to have the sidewalk on there first. Then you erase your excess. You don't need the horizon line going through your building either. It's a good idea to erase as you go. Hopefully you didn't draw that horizon line too dark. With perspective, you always want to draw really light because you never know what you're going to be erasing. Then I'm going to come back here. Let's see. Let's go 1, 2 lines back and let's start another building in line with this other tile. So we have this one here. Skip past that one and go to here. And I am going to go directly straight across and put my dot. This time the building is not going to be right on the sidewalk because I want you to see the difference. But it is straight across from this line. So I have my dot. I'm drawing my box, but this time I'm going to draw this one below the horizon line just so that you can see the differences. What does this one look like if it is not above the horizon line? So my box over here, you can just kind of imagine how big that building would be. Because if it's below the horizon line, we're going to have 3 receding lines. This one had 2, and it was above the horizon line. This one needs the 3, so sometimes you have to imagine where the edge of that building is going to be. So you take what you can back to the vanishing point. And that's why I needed to imagine where the rest of that was going to be, so I knew where this line was going to be headed. So you take every corner back to the vanishing point that you possibly can, unless it is going to be cutting straight through the shape, so I wouldn't take that one back. Same rules apply. You can erase the rest of this because it's hidden behind that building, and then end it. So dot, how far from the street you want it to be, draw your box, draw your receding lines, and then you end it. Let's make this one kind of a shorter building. Parallel, and then turn it, and it needs to be parallel. Every time you end something, it needs to be parallel. The back needs to be parallel to the front, just like in the bird's eye view of the city. Lost a little bit of my horizon line. Okay. Oops. Put that back on there. over here we're going to have more of a residential area. And so we're going to start with that first building, and we can go ahead and let's start with its, I want the road to be able to curve. Let's see. I want it to be able to curve that way. Maybe the road doesn't have to curve on this side. Let's go ahead and do it right here. So I am going to inline with this. I'm going to come out here because I want more of a yard. So there's my dot. Going to draw my box. I'm going to draw my receding lines. Draw all the way back, or you can kind of just extend them out a little ways, because I know I don't want my building to go all the way to the vanishing point, so I'm trying to save myself a little bit of erasing if I just kind of do something like that. And then I'm going to decide how wide I want it. This is going to be a garage. So I'm going to end it parallel to the front and erase all of my excess. The more yard you want, the farther back you put this box. So what that means is if I wanted a bigger yard, I got to start this dot way back here to get more room back there. All right. I want it to look like it is attached to a house. And so the way that you do that is wherever this one ends, that's where the next box needs to go. So we're going to tuck at this height. We're going to tuck another box right behind this. So how far out do you want it to go? It's going to look kind of funny because this is going to be like a really, really tall, building, but that's okay. We can have it go back however far you want it to go back. Making sure that every time you draw a line, I always check the side of my paper and make sure that I'm going perfectly straight. So dot, box, receding lines, and end it. You can have like a really giant house, but so this side is going to look kind of funny if you're comparing it to this side. So imagine that this was a different drawing completely on this side of the paper. Erase these marks. Erase the lines that are going through your building. The horizon line is not needed there. Okay, so we have the basic structures of our building so far. And we're ready to move on to the next step.